We're going to begin this disc with a fundamental sales question. It's multiple choice, so take your pick. You answered number 6, all of the above. Certainly these are things you need to know about a customer, but is this kind of information going to reveal the customer's true buying motivation? In other words, will the answers to these questions tell you just what it is that's going to convince a customer to buy your car over a competitor? Frankly, we don't think so. Let's see what would have happened had you pushed number 7. Obviously, number 4, all of the above, was the correct answer. And the reason, as any good salesman in any profession will tell you, is that people buy to satisfy needs. And believe it or not, things like low price or basic transportation are not at the top of most people's needs list. Instead, you'll find their needs generally have to do with reliability, durability, engine performance, style, riding comfort, and in some cases, as with buyers who spend $50,000 and more on their cars, the need relates to status and ego reinforcement. What all this is leading up to is the simple fact that if you're going to be successful selling to eagle prospects, then you have to discover what they perceive to be their true needs. Then, having discovered what those needs are, you have to sell to them. You have to prove that your car satisfies their needs better than any of your competitors. That brings us to the next question. What's the best way to uncover a person's hot button or true buying motivation? The answer, very simply, is to ask them using the 3-question probe technique. Listen as I do a little qualifying with 3 different customers. By the way, even though these people are current Eagle owners, it doesn't change the validity of this probe technique and the information it reveals. What would you say is the one thing you want or demand most in any car you might buy?
Performance, I'd say.
What do you mean by performance?
A car that when I get in it and start it, I know it's going to run. If I need to, well, I know they don't make cars with a lot of get up and go anymore. They're getting a little bit better about that, but I still want to know that if I'm going to put my foot in the accelerator, the car is going to move a little bit. I need to know that I can depend on it, whether I'm in traffic or where I live. I live out, 10 miles out of town, and for us, it's very important to have a car that's going to get us through mud and snow, and one's just as bad as the other a lot of the times, drifts and everything else.
Why, of all the things you might have chosen, is performance your number 1 priority?
Well, because I think where I live, I'm a person, I like to know I can depend on the car I get into. A lot of people are satisfied with driving a car that's, if it runs today, all right. I mean, if, they can run it on no gas or hardly any maintenance or whatever, and they don't really care. It's just inconvenient if it doesn't run for them. For me, I need to know that I've got a dependable car. When I get into it, if I'm going to drive 50 miles where I live, it's normal to go 50, 60 miles to get somewhere and to get back and, a few hours out on the road and this kind of stuff, and I need to know I've got a car I can depend on.
What would you say is the one thing you want or demand most in any car you might buy?
Reliability.
What do you mean by reliability?
Trouble-free. Just get in the car, drive to work, come home, and have no problem.
Why, of all the things you might have chosen, is reliability your number 1 priority?
Before buying a new car, I had several used cars, and I had nothing but trouble with them, and it got to a point where I just needed to have something reliable to count on for my business.
Now, if those were your Eagle customers, you'd now have the information necessary to structure a meaningful sales presentation. You'd be able to address yourself to their needs and demonstrate that your car can satisfy those needs. Oh, sure, you'd still want to know things about trade-ins or who's going to be driving the car and how they intend to finance the car, but the main thing is that you now know their hot buttons, and every aspect of the sale can be directed and focused for maximum impact and effect. Okay, it's one thing to be able to uncover a customer's hot button. However, to utilize this information, you must also know your product. And by that I mean you have to know how the various features and attributes of your car can contribute to the satisfaction of their needs. Put it simply, you must have a thorough knowledge of your product. In the next 15 minutes, we're going to talk about product specifics, features, and performance. We're also going to find out what our 3 customers like best about their Eagles. Not so incidentally, What they like is also what they demand in any car they'd buy. Afterwards, we're going to come back and talk about using product knowledge to prove that our Eagle satisfies a prospect's needs.
Phil Berg, contributing editor for Auto Week magazine, recently wrote, and I quote, "Adaptation of a species to an environment is important to survival, but there are creatures that endure despite large handicaps. The AMC Eagle, the last traditionally styled and engineered car made by AMC, is surviving in an environment that increasingly favors articulate, smaller vehicles. The four-wheel drive Eagle lives. Why?" End quote. The answer, he concludes, goes something like this. You can find other cars that can traverse snowbound roads and venture into the off-road unknown as well as the Eagle. You can find Land Cruisers with the opulent interior and soft suspension ride of the Eagle, but not in the same vehicle. The Eagle, he declares, is the missing link. And so maybe it is, the link between the traditional car and the likes of the Wagoneer, Cherokee, Bronco, and Blazer. The fact of the matter is that Eagle appeals to those people who want more than a car, but less than a truck.
Well, we did have a Jeep Cherokee. I mean, that was the first one we bought, but then it was just a little bit too much car for me, and then we decided to trade that in, and we bought the Eagle.
We wanted kind of the luxury of a car, plus, you know, the ability to get through mud and snow and the four-wheel drive option, because we debated the other, but we thought we already had a pickup, so why go to something on the order of a Cherokee Wagoneer type thing?
I didn't want a truck. As far as sturdiness and reliability, I thought the Eagle would be my best choice. It would be a truck that handled like a car.
It's true, of course, that other cars can do many of the same things as Eagle, namely the Toyota Wagon and the Subarus. But these Japanese imports don't do well in markets urging American-only buying. Plus, the Eagle is perceived by many as more durable, with more room inside and more load-carrying capacity than either Toyota or Subaru four-wheel drive vehicles. Listen to what Eagle owners say they like best about their vehicles.
Just a good, heavy, sturdy car, no rattles, like other cars we've had before, and I just like the performance of it.
The construction, the durability, the performance, and the comfort.
I like the luxury of it. To me, it's got a lot of the luxury options in it of a car. To me, it's sporty looking, which I like a sporty looking car. And I feel it'll perform when I need it to. I mean, you know, it gets me through mud and snow and, you know, normal highway driving, and I don't feel like I had to step down to drive an Eagle or anything else.
And then I think my main feature, the best thing I like of all, is in the wintertime when you just have to turn that little lever to four-wheel drive on the ice and the snow. And I don't have any problems after that. That I think is the thing I like the best.
When you sort those comments out, you find that owners equate Eagle with attributes like durability, reliability, and four-wheel drive, along with the traditional demands for room, comfort, and a smooth ride. When you think about it, attributes like durability, reliability, comfort, a smooth ride, and the benefits of four-wheel drive pretty well sum up the sales story for Eagle. A story that should be presented by every salesperson to every Eagle prospect. Here's what we'd suggest they point out. First and foremost, select drive with the new Shift on the Fly feature. With the flick of a switch, the driver can go from two-wheel to four-wheel drive even while moving. Once in four-wheel drive, the mud, snow, or even sand have to be pretty deep to stop the Eagle. Plus, unlike Toyota or Subaru, you can drive the Eagle in the four-wheel drive mode on dry pavement all day. Because of our unique controlled slip differential and viscous coupling, the Eagle operates smoothly and quietly in four-wheel drive without concern for the tire scrub or axle twist that is so damaging to our Japanese competitors.
Here we have a demonstration designed to simulate the kind of situation you might run into during the winter. Let's say the vehicle is on a steep hill, or maybe it's accidentally been backed into a ditch. The rear wheels are on a patch of ice or mud, simulated here by these heavily greased 4x8 boards. The front wheels, as you can see, are on the dry pavement. Now, theoretically, one would think that in four-wheel drive, the front wheels would be able to pull the car off the boards, even though the rear wheels are spinning. Well, let's see what happens. First, the Toyota. Okay, now let's see what happens with Eagle in the select drive, four-wheel drive mode. Let's look at that demonstration again. The reason the Toyota has such a hard time pulling off the slippery area is that with their system, the torque is limited to the lowest traction of the front or rear wheels. To put it another way, when the traction on one set of wheels is reduced, as is the case here with the rear wheels, the other set of wheels, in this case the front, is limited to the same amount of traction. You might say that in this system, the front wheels, even though they are on dry pavement, are slaves to the rear wheels, which, under this circumstance, can muster very little traction. With Eagle's Select Drive, this is not the case. If the system senses that the rear wheels are slipping and have little or no traction, it automatically shifts the pulling power to the front wheels, giving them the power to pull the car forward. Here's another example of Select Drive superiority. Subaru and Toyota tell you that their system is for off-road use only, and no wonder. Look what happens when you make a simple turn on dry pavement with the four-wheel drive engaged. That sound you hear is called wheel hop or tire scrub, and it's caused by the fact that the wheels on the vehicle have locked up. This causes premature driveline and tire wear. The reason is simple. In a mechanical lockup system, such as offered in the Subaru and Toyota, all the wheels are locked together so that they turn at the same rate of speed. Well, when you go around a corner, the outside wheels, by necessity, turn faster in order to make the turn. When they are rigidly fixed, as they are in these competitive systems, the wheels are constantly trying to adjust to one another, and the result is wheel lockup and tire scrub. To demonstrate the effect of lockup, the driver will push in the clutch at the sound of the horn. Notice that the car comes to a stop almost immediately. Now, imagine what would happen if you were to continue to drive with their system engaged. There's simply no way the car could take this kind of abuse for very long. As a result, the driver has to be on the alert not to leave the four-wheel drive engaged on dry pavement. Not so with Select Drive. The wheels roll independently, and that's why you can drive the Eagle on the highway in either two-wheel or four-wheel drive without concern. In fact, the beauty of the Select Drive system is that you can set it in four-wheel drive during wet or snowy weather and simply forget about it.
The next point is durability. Every Eagle is provided with several layers of protection to help it fight corrosion and hold its beauty and value for years. Selected surfaces of the hood, doors, and deck lid and other vital areas are constructed with galvanized steel. The entire body is dipped in a rust-inhibiting primer bath. Special sealers and wax coatings are applied to the most vulnerable areas. And to protect against stone damage, you have plastic-covered rockers and wheel well covers. Just try this little demonstration on one of the Japanese models.
The AMC durability story starts here, in the stamping operation, where the galvanized steel roofs, fenders, side panels, and frames are formed under heavy presses. The car begins to take shape. This is the creation of the unitized body. AMC was the first American manufacturer to introduce the unitized concept in this country. This design dramatically increases body strength, while at the same time reducing weight. At this point, the sides and the top of the car are brought together into a single rigid body shell that boasts 236 separate welds. It's then sent to one of the many inspection stations where sensitive fingers and well-trained eyes look for any imperfections, any indication that the body shell does not meet our specifications. The next step is to send the body shell through a deep dip epoxy-based primer that coats every exposed surface. This is one of the oldest methods of protection in the industry, and we were the originators way back in the days of the Rambler. Even now, we remain one of the few manufacturers to use this time-proven epoxy process. Once the epoxy hardens, it is given another coat of zinc-rich primer. No surface is left exposed. For many years, we've been working to produce a virtually rust-free car. Here, anti-corrosion materials are applied to all but critical body areas, inside the door panels, up under the wheel wells, and in the trunk. Here, more protection is added with the insertion of plastic wheel well liners, another AMC exclusive. After painting, we apply yet another application of anti-corrosion material to what time and testing have proven to be the most sensitive areas of the car. AMC is proud of the fact that we are the only company that proves its concern for the customer.
Reliability. When most people talk of reliability, they're talking about the engine. Under our hood, sophisticated electronics control major engine functions on the rugged 4.2-liter six-cylinder engine. It features 7 main bearings for extra durability, plus automatic fuel feedback and an ingenious knock sensor for improved operating economy and low emissions. And of course, the engine is teamed up with the standard 5-speed overdrive transmission or the optional 3-speed automatic. When it comes to the traditional comfort and luxury features, again, Eagle has it all. Outside, we have the new Sport Hood for all wagons and sedans. There are new wire wheel covers as standard equipment on the Limited wagon, optional on the other models. Inside, the Limited wagon offers the luxury of newly styled leather as standard. The new Highland check fabric is optional on other models in place of standard vinyl upholstery. And of course, you have fully individual reclining seats as standard, with power seats optional. To help hide valuables from passers-by, or to simply neaten up the appearance of the wagon, the rear cargo area cover comes as standard equipment. This year, we've also added the convenience of the keyless entry system as a handy option. There's even a sport package for the wagon with special trim and equipment. And for many, possibly the most important interior feature is that you have plenty of room for 5 adults. Bottom line is that whether you're talking about the advantages of shift-on-the-fly 4-wheel drive, reliability, durability, comfort, luxury, or the virtues of purchasing a vehicle built in America, the Eagle does indeed provide a unique link between the performance of a 4-wheel drive recreational vehicle and the smooth, luxurious ride of a 2-wheel drive passenger car. As Phil Berg said in his summary statement, the 4-wheel drive Eagle lives, which is another way of saying the market for Eagle sedans and wagons is as strong as it ever was, and it's up to us to take advantage of it.
It's just a great car.
At this point, I'm very well pleased with it.
As far as I'm concerned, I would get another one. I have been very impressed with it.
Eagle wagons and Eagle sedans. A sales opportunity not to be missed. in 1985.